segment. This is what, episode 2?
Episode 2.
Of season. No, actually, officially.
We haven't launched episode 1, but we recorded it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you said we dropped it last week.
He doesn't even know. That's not bad. So I thought if we're recording, because we usually do the Monday thing, so I thought if we're recording Monday, so tonight I'll drop the first one. So next week we drop the second one.
Yeah,
okay.
That's what I thought. But we created this platform about a year ago.
2020.
2020, 2 years ago. I think it was deep in lockdown, and where people were locked in, and we just thought maybe. I mean, we started a WhatsApp group called Power Circle.
Back in
2019 or 18. So the idea of that WhatsApp group was there's a lot of like-minded people around us, but yet they don't seem to know each other. So the idea was like, how do we get all these people to connect? So we started our WhatsApp group just to create some sort of like brotherhood where knowledge was being shared in the group and stuff like that. And that group was so, people were sharing so much information in there, the way at the end of the day you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so inspired, So with that WhatsApp group, the conversation that was going on in that WhatsApp group, and we felt like it wasn't right that we kept this information to ourselves.
Just that little WhatsApp group.
So we're like, it would be so dope if we take this information and create a platform for it, so that anybody, a kid somewhere, can be exposed to it, because people were really having some really dope information, and that's how the online live interview started,
where we wanted to have people on, because like Kevin mentioned, a lot of people in Cape Town that are doing dope things that we don't even know about. There's so many other career paths that we have never even heard of, you know what I mean? And there are a lot of things that are dope that we could benefit from, but we are just not exposed to it. And then from the people that we know, we just wanted to first just have chats with them so that they can share their story, their journey, their perspective, their opinion on things and stuff like that. And we've gained so much, we've learned so much, and the people that have been watching them love them. You know what I mean? Like, they've been so much fun, even for us to make. So it was not a chore. It didn't feel like a job or anything like that. It's just been really, really fun chats for us. And we've also met other dope-ass people that we didn't even know about. You know what I mean? From homies growing cannabis on the rooftops. You know what I mean? Stuff like that is just crazy. We met Marshal. Marshal sharing his vibes as well, and we've learned so much and we've gained so much, and the people that have watched it have been enjoying these episodes so much. The people that have been on have been enjoying them so much. So it was supposed to be a podcast to begin with, but because of lockdown, Instagram Live is what it was. And for the past 2 years we've been doing it on Instagram Live until now, where the podcast has finally come to be.
It's growth, the very special part of this podcast or whatever that we're doing, the main thing is the reason why somebody like Eren is here. It's the idea of first connecting, and also connecting and collaborating and getting to know each other. And, I think the first thing we can start off is giving him an opportunity to introduce himself and how he ended up being
Actually, we were supposed to. So we actually initially had another Asian. We had Jefferson, who was supposed to pull up, but
Jefferson got COVID.
But Jeff.
Oh no, he doesn't have COVID. One of his friends who has COVID, Jefferson was exposed to it. So just quarantine. He was like, okay. Right now, I need to stay in quarantine.
So we had to go through our contacts and see what Asian we have, and we found Eren. We need a replacement. Eren's got longer hair, so we're winning today. We're winning. So it's Jefferson's loss. So we would like to just first find out. But I met Eren right now. I just met Eren 5 minutes ago.
The idea of Jefferson was like, I don't know if you know Jefferson.
Nah.
So we thought it would have been a perfect match for you. And the whole idea is to bring somebody but yet they don't know each other and they're around each other.
And they do similar things as well.
Similar things.
So he's also into health and fitness, Chinese medicine vibes, and he's acting.
It
does voiceover.
It does voiceovers as well.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, it's like our own South African Bruce Lee.
Jefferson.
Exactly. Exactly. So we want to get to now a space where the guests that we've had before and people that we know are in similar industries, are doing similar things or complementary things, or sometimes even opposing things. Do you know what I mean? Where they're in different, like on opposite ends of the spectrum, to bring them together, we share perspective, share ideas, share network.
I mean, I'm sure you thought I was crazy when I was like, yo, come through Monday, let's shoot. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, we just met. Like, we met Friday? Saturday?
I think it was Friday. Yeah, no, it was Friday.
Friday, and I was like, Monday we're shooting. Just come through. And Anele asked me today, it's like, yo, tell me something. I'm like, yo, we'll find out.
It's like, yo, we have a business for Jefferson.
So I guess we're all meeting out.
Yeah, exactly. It all started with this water.
What happened
This is not the promo video, but This water is the reason why we met and how the conversation started, and it led to him being as a guest.
Wait, before we get into this water, Eren, who are you, bro?
Okay, how far back do I go?
Okay, just where do you want to start?
What do people know you as, man? What's your story?
No, where were you born? Let's start there.
Where was I born? So I was born Bloemfontein, Free State, but just born.
I was hoping that
I'm like, nah, man, you got a fake one.
something like
Fake Asian, bro, nah. Okay, let's go.
Okay, Bloemfontein. Okay.
Just born. Yeah. So, but let me take a step before that as well. So parents.
Wait, you were born before that?
In another life.
Okay, there you go.
No, so parents are Taiwanese, but they met here in Lesotho.
Okay.
And then from there, they got together, and then I was born in Bloemfontein. Then we moved to Pretoria, and then most of my life has been Johannesburg. So I've recently moved to Cape Town, and I've almost been here for like a year now. So I'm fresh to the Cape Town.
Oh, dope.
Yeah.
Where you staying in Cape Town?
So Aranya's is just up the road.
Oh, it's up. Okay, dope. Why did you come to Cape Town?
Why did I come to Cape Town? Okay, well, I spent...
leaving Joburg to Cape Town, because people are leaving Cape Town for Joburg.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, Joburg is where it's happening, man. Yeah.
I mean,
Marshal, I'm surprised he's still here.
yeah, bruh. Why are you still here?
Nah, you need to build the connects before you leave. You can't just leave, you know? Like,
you need to build,
make
Cape
sure
Town
you
Connect.
Cape Town Connect.
Nah, the thing, when I say build, it's like, you need to have the connections, you put everything in place so that when you leave and something's happening, you know what's up, and then you can just come back. For me, I feel like I can't just leave a place, and my goal is even to leave South Africa. But I don't want to leave without having some solid connections where I know, like...
If you leave South Africa, where would it be? UK or US?
Nah, either one, man. The UK is like, the movie industry in the UK and the US is basically the same. You know what I mean? So yeah, probably be the US.
You're not trying to do Nollywood.
Dude, if I'll go where the money is, if
sir.
Nollywood calls, I'll be like, I'll be right there. I'll be right there. Okay, now for real.
Got you. Eren, so you said that you were actually born in the South. I'm not gonna say disappointed. Disappointed is not the right term to use. Because I'm like, he's Asian. I'm wanting to hear I was born in this place, and then things were bad, and my father carried me on this back.
Bro, the Shaolin temple.
Do you know what I'm trying to say?
But you know how crazy that a lot of people have that perception of people when they meet, where they put it out together just by like, oh, I'm expecting you to be from.
You can't.
You get that a
But
lot?
the thing is, can you help it though?
No, you can't.
You can't.
Yeah.
Because it's. I think judgment is human nature. But by just looking at someone, you already have a certain image and things. You can't really help it. So
It's prejudices.
it's human nature.
Yeah. Like you said, human nature. I actually had a friend that I had discussion with about the judgment thing, and obviously it can go in a bad direction when you judge someone negatively. And then I'll ask him, like, can we get rid of judgments? And because obviously that's the ideal world that everyone just loves each other. But he was like saying, no, man, you need judgment. We need judgment as human nature because you need to know if someone's about to kill you.
Yes,
someone's about to hurt you.
absolutely.
You need to judge them, but that same mechanism of judgment can unfortunately make you judge someone wrongly. So yeah, man.
That's an interesting perspective, huh?
It could be a prejudice.
Judgment is good.
Judgment is
Because
necessary,
you need it for
man.
protection. Okay.
You need it, like, oh, if I step too close off the edge, I'm gonna fall. So you need that judgment, but unfortunately, it does have the other side of it.
Facts. So schooling, where did that happen?
So schooling all in
Spent all your
Joburg.
life in Pretoria?
Yeah, no, Joburg.
Oh, yeah.
Joburg. So I was only in Pretoria for a bit, but most of my life that I know is Johannesburg.
Okay.
Yeah. man,
Schooling happened there, primary, high school?
Primary, high school, nursery, university. All of it was there.
UJ?
No, after university.
Okay.
So I'm a film student.
Okay, say.
Yeah.
So that was the connect. That's what I thought. Okay, he's a film student. He's not doing film.
I'm not doing film
It's the
anymore.
water.
Yeah. Oh no, the water is how we met.
This is
Wait,
something else,
let
man.
me understand this. So,
The water is how we met.
okay, you were thirsty.
No, I meant. Okay. Do I explain the story or you explain the story? I'm gonna explain part of it. You explain part of it.
Okay.
Okay.
So the water was. I met this guy who was in the journey to finding the magic water.
Wait,
Somebody told him there's this water that does so many good things.
Wait, who's this guy? Is it him?
That's his friend, right? And he came and they gave him an address, and the address happened to be my studio, but it was the wrong address. And you walk in, it's like, where? I'm in the wrong
Can I have some
place.
water?
I'm looking for this water and this place. I was like, nah, dude, this is not the right place. But for some reason, we just continue with the conversation. We started, I was very interested in him going through this journey to find this water. So I wanted to know, what is this about this water?
The fountain of youth.
Elixir of life.
It is called that.
It's called the elixir of life.
It's elixir of youth.
Tell us a bit about this water.
Okay. So,
For some reason, I'm thirsty now.
okay.
Okay. Well, okay. I'll put my part of it. I went to a shop, and then the manager was a Rasta, and then I was like, yo, what's up, man? It's all cool. And then I was like, yo, let's go for a beer and a drink. And then, yeah, he showed me this water.
Where?
And then, no, at his place.
Okay.
So I drank, and I'm like, this is some interesting water. And then he told me that there's some benefits to it. You can Google the benefits. I can't remember all of them now.
It says here there's buku oil or buchu. Is it buchu or buku?
I think you pronounce it
Oh, buku.
Buku, yeah.
Oh, buku
and
oil.
yeah, it's indigenous. It's from here, and I think the Khoi clan people use this, and they call it like the elixir of life, or elixir of youth.
It says here that, right?
We need to find out who's behind it.
Yes, like adults need to take 125 mils to 250 mils of buku water daily on an empty stomach, preferably in the morning. So you found a guy who was looking for this water. So you're not the one that was looking out for this water.
No. So the Rasta made me he let me drink this, and I was like, this is interesting. And I'm always interested in these kind of, how do I say, natural kind of medicinal things. And then I decided to look for this water, and what I had done was the bottle that he had, I took a photo of it. And then there was a name on there, and then I typed the name on Google Maps, and then it led me here. And so I came looking for this medicinal, I'm waiting for bottles and stuff, and then I met this guy. And there he is painting shoes, and he's showing me his art stuff, and I'm like, yeah, man, I'm looking for this water, man. And then
Gabe, you trying to make a sale?
No. But Loki, when you think about it, this water just connected 4 people.
that's it.
You know what I mean?
Dude,
But also, I have this thing, bruh, when it comes to people, I have this thing of you were meant to meet. Just invest in it. Because people don't do that. You meet people and you're like, oh, okay, cool, that's it. But for me, I like going deeper with it. It's like, okay, let's give it more time. I think even most of my friends has been the process of that. It's like I meet you where it was supposed to end there, but I just don't let it end there. I want to know more. I want to get to know more. And I think what he was looking for, I've heard of this name, but I can't remember where I heard of it. Maybe it could have been the same water. So I was like,
about buku as well, but I didn't even actually know that it's written like this.
Must I read the full benefits? But I need to go on Google.
You can Google them.
we'll figure it out. For people that are watching this, buku water.
So
check it
now,
out, Google it.
So now,
Google it.
Yeah.
when KB told me that Eren is coming
test
through
the water.
today, I thought
once I finish this, wait.
I thought that Eren does this water thing of his Asian dude from the mountains or whatever, probably dripped up in a robe, you know what I mean? Telling us and giving it to us like this.
Nah, not even touching it, just
Do you know what I mean?
moves to you.
And some regular ass Joe Burger. Alright, it's not that.
That's a lot. Eh?
Oh, it said 251.
Well, go for a lot as in. Well, I'll taste it. You'll see for yourself.
Is it not delicious? How does it taste?
It's
Bitter.
Is it bitter?
oh.
Yeah, we good,
No,
man.
I ain't gonna lie though. It's okay. It's good. It's
No, like,
good.
is it good?
It's like,
is it
flawless.
delicious?
It's flawless.
Yeah,
From somewhere.
yeah.
It's
not
like,
bitter,
it's like
bitter.
they took water.
Wait, Unati, have you had this?
It's like they took.
tasted it.
It's like they took water and they put flour in it for a bit, and they like overnight, and they remove the flour. That's how it tastes.
Yeah, it's got that aftertaste.
Yeah.
Wait, flour, like flowers or flour?
Like the taste
I don't
of,
know.
like the taste of flour, like flowers.
So that flour thing would be the buchu. Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
It smells like a campfire.
Yo, man, it's interesting.
No, I'm not tasting that.
It's got a bit of a minty flair
It
as well
smells,
to it.
it
Yeah.
smells like a campfire.
Take a sip.
Yeah, it smells like medicine.
It's good for your prostate, apparently.
Hey man, we learned something new, right?
It's good for,
Buku water.
it's good for inflammation. That's one thing I remember.
100%
Don't we have something
natural
like this
and
as well?
organic.
Ngati campfire, it tastes like a campfire.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah, man.
Wait, so it's made from a plant.
Yeah. Inflammation, sexually transmitted infections. It deals with all of that, man.
Yeah, you heard of sexually transmitted infection? You got the interest?
Five-year solution.
I was saying, man, let's repackage this. Don't put ingredients, put benefits. This should be a sort of the train station. Hey. Oh, snap.
Interesting.
Yeah, man. Plan B for men.
So
Plan buku.
Plan B for men. Wow, that's a selling point.
Eren, what are you doing now? What is your profession?
Well,
Since you're not going to tell us about
Film.
your
So I don't sell magical
water
water.
from,
I
yeah.
don't sell magical water. But yeah, I studied film, Johannesburg, and so I actually majored in sound design. But I entered the industry for like a year, and it's a tough industry, man. Like I found it was very, very difficult. And so yeah, I branched out of that, and I pretty much just hit the ground running, trying to figure out what to do with my life. Yeah, man, for a couple of years. And eventually, after some really weird trials and errors, I ended up being a UX UI designer.
Okay.
So it's in the IT kind of world, man.
Yeah, developing.
Yeah. And well,
UX,
not
so
the
user-
visual side, not the coding side.
interface.
Yeah,
Oh,
but I
okay,
work
yeah.
with developers very closely,
Okay.
and that's kind of what I'm doing now, man.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
Sick.
And you didn't study that, you just got into it
No. Anyone can get into this, really. Anyone who has a capability
to learn.
to learn. Yeah. You can get courses online. You can jump into it.
Meet Marshall, man.
All right.
Marshall. Marshall, meet Eren.
Greetings, Eren.
Marshal, what's your story? We know your story, but Eren doesn't know your story. And the viewer might not know your story.
Actually, he doesn't.
Hello. The name is Marshal Batchman Chana, aka Choco Mufasa.
The voice of every commercial on TV.
Yeah, so what's my story?
Born in Cameroon.
Born in Cameroon, came here at a very young age in South Africa at 8 years old. Primary school, high school, uni.
What university did you go to?
CBUT, Belleville campus, mechanical engineering.
I put in work.
So worked for a while in the industry for like, even during studying, I started working in the industry. Finished after like 5 years in the industry, I was sitting behind a screen and I'm looking at this and I'm like, I'm not coming back here tomorrow. Like for real, I'm telling you, this is me and I'm not coming back here tomorrow. No ways. So I'm starting to think of a story. What am I going to tell the engineer? Like, yo, anyways.
But besides the engineer, what are you going to tell your mother? African.
How are you going to pay your rent?
No, like that's a good question, huh? Because
that's where you start. Like just thinking, yo, I'm not come back tomorrow, but rent is like, yo.
at the time I was living with the folks, right? However, I had this thing, sometimes when destiny calls to you, when your calling calls to you, you can either oppress the voice and like say, I'm not going to listen to it, and just succumb to whatever, life throws at you, or you can answer the call and be like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. You know what I mean? I'm gonna do this and take a leap of faith and see what happens. That's what I did, you know. So
what did you have in mind to do, Marshal? If you're
I knew, because originally I applied it after uni, after high school. I got accepted, everything was cool. In fact, I wasn't actually supposed to get accepted because my maths mark was actually a bit low. So they told me, nah, rewrite maths, everything, I was done. But you're gonna rewrite maths and then get that and then you can come, they gave me everything. I go to Pops, like, yo, Pops, I got accepted after. He's like, let me see. So tomorrow you are going to go apply for mechanical engineering. For real. No, I'm not even joking.
That's African Pops, right?
And then he just did that pop and I was like, okay.
Yeah, you don't decide, right?
For real.
African country, you don't decide what to study.
You know, like, and then that's
engineering.
I was like, okay, fine. I went to College of Cape Town, started there, and then uni. And then once I did that, got everything, I was like, yep, okay, this is what Pops wanted. I got it for him. Yeah. And then now I'm gonna do my own thing. Because at the end of the day, for me, I feel like there's nothing worse than dying with regret. I think that is the most painful thing. You know, even when we see relatives that die or something, the pain that actually gets us is the regret of thinking that we could have done more, or we should have spent more time, or, you know, and all these things. You know, so for me, that regret, I was like, nah, if I die tomorrow, at least I know that I'm dying, and I took a step into my path, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then that's it.
That you wanted to do.
Yeah, so anyways, that's that. Told the engineer, yo, I'm not coming.
Wait, the next day?
No, like that same day, I told him something just came up. I need to go back home to Cameroon. Like, I don't know when I'll be back. You know, and then this is what I said. I was like, okay, cool. Because you don't want to burn the bridge, man. You know what I mean? Okay. So you want to, at least if something goes wrong,
leave the nice way. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, so we
plan move.
Exactly. So I told him that, okay, cool. He's like, okay, fine. Don't worry, the door's always open when you come back. And then yeah, went home. The next day, I'm like this at home, bro. In my room. Mom's, are you not going to work? Nah, we've got an off today. A week goes by, I'm still at home, bro. But then after a week, before even I think 2 days afterwards, I send a text to Tongue Twisters, voiceover agency. And before this, at high school, I was doing, I was a waiter. And I was always getting good remarks like, yo, you've got a good voice, you should do radio, you should do something like that. But then back then, it's like, it comes in here, it goes out there, you know, like, yeah, at least it's getting me tips. Well, like, you know, this is what I want. So, well, thank you. So then I finished that, and then at that point, I sent a voice text to the same Tongue Twisters, but they never replied. So I just forgot about it. And then afterwards, later, after the engineering, I sent them again another voice, another text. And they replied the next day. They were like, yo, we are actually looking for Cameroonian voiceover artists.
Wow. And
specifically Cameroonian voiceover artists. Bruh. Like, yo, I don't know how to explain this. And I don't know how to explain this.
So like perfect, right timing.
They're in life, right?
Yeah.
When you walk your path, life is easy. If you walk your path, like a path that the engineer has laid for you, you will find that it goes smoothly. You will get challenges and all, but your path goes smoothly. But what makes life hard is that we are stubborn as humans. We always go, you know, we go everywhere but the road that was laid for us because we fear things. You know what I mean?
Are you gonna say Marshal? Let me understand.
And most of the time is we chase the security.
Exactly.
The one thing that we have as a form of security is making sure that you earn the salary. You know, so you end up, so I call it slaving. You know, he usually make a joke, and we come from a retail background, myself and Anele. You know, I think our whole life we've been trying to sell things.
We've been in retail for years.
So he always used to make a joke and he say, yo, I'm on the field, I'm on the plantation.
Because it is
picking cotton.
I'm selling cotton, bro.
Picking cotton.
Because it's not for you.
You know what I mean? So just from that point itself, it's like, yo, dude, we are in chain. And what's keeping us in chain is the fact that we need to pay our rent and we need to make a living just to survive. It's like, yo, it's not really, if you had all the means in the world, that's the question I always ask myself. And I think I got to that point where I asked myself this question. If I had everything that I need in the world, in life, what would I be doing? And I was like,
not this.
I wouldn't be in aping right now. You know, dealing
Facts,
with
bro.
what I'm dealing with, and that's what
facts.
made it easier for me to quit my job and start doing what I'm doing. It's like, it's not about even the money. I'm not even there yet, but it's like I'm
It's the
doing
journey,
what I'm
man.
passionate about. It's like I can do this for free and still do it 8 hours, 9 hours. You know, that's the question. It's like, yo, would you do what you're doing if you were not being paid? If the answer is no, then you're not doing the thing that
Facts.
you should be doing. You know.
Facts.
So yeah.
Facts, man.
Hey, don't quit your job.
You got rent.
There's also this thing called what is it? Winner's bias. What's it called? Victor's bias. Survivalist bias. Survivorship bias, where most of the stories that we hear are stories of those that made it. Yeah. True. And
Yeah, those that quit and end up on the streets.
and for the 500, let's say in 100 people, you'll find that there are 5 people that actually made it. Right? The 95 didn't make it. And they did exactly the same things. You find that maybe 50 of them did exactly the same things that the other ones did. That those 5 did. But the results are not the same.
But the thing is,
Right? So when, not everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur. Not everyone has that capacity. Right? Not everyone can be the CEO of a company. I mean, how many companies we will need to have in this world? It wasn't a work if all of us strive to be CEOs, you know?
True.
I feel like each person, people who are employed are not necessarily in a sense where they are not fulfilling. How can I say it? It's like not everyone is meant to be self-employed. Because because the ones who are self-employed need services of those who are employed.
but I believe in the chain.
So
I think-
what I always hear when it comes to motivation and success and whatnot is a situation where people like quit your 9 to 5. That's always the thing. It's like so success right now and following your passion, following your dream has been tied to not having a 9 to 5. Almost like people who are, because people have 9 to 5s and they're directors. They are board members. People are managing directors and whatnot. So, So what I find is that whenever we speak about a person following their passion, following their dreams, it's always very entrepreneurial. It's always quit your 9 to 5. It's always on that tip. You know what I mean? Be your own boss type of vibe. Hence, they will always hook you up with Herbalife so you can be your own boss. That's how they'll get you with all these pyramid schemes.
But do you not think also the industry of itself, of being an employee, the way it's set up, it's exactly what we talk about, the chain. Like maybe the conversation has to be, do we really have to work 8 hours?
So I would say this.
Because I used to find myself, bro, the job I was doing as a designer for a brand, and I was sitting there 8 hours. I can do my work in 3 hours, bro. And I'll sit there the other 4 hours, I have nothing to do. If you go in a lot of company, you find exactly what is more precious to everybody is time.
Yeah.
I believe companies take away so much time of people.
They do.
Right? And if we can, I think we need a revolution way of thinking of how corporate should be. And my biggest thing to start with is reduce that 8 hours to 4 hours.
I think, right, at the end of the day, in summary, it's all about how content and happy are you
As an
with your
individual.
choices that you've made in your life.
Not
If
only
you're
just the
happy-
choices, not only just the choices, Marshall. There are things that will happen to you that are not your choice, that are not of your doing.
Look, here's why I say there are things that happen to us, right? But our reaction is a choice, right?
Yeah.
So your circumstances and all these things and whatever the things that happen to you, I think it's like 10% of life, but 90% is your reaction to it. Most of the time we think that it's out of our control, our reaction is out of our control, but if we are really honest with ourselves, it is within our control. But the problem is we are not willing to take the necessary actions for us to make those choices. Because let's say now I'm in the the hood proper, and all my surroundings is just crime and everything. You know what I mean? It's gonna take a lot of work for me to get out of there. Or I can say I can't help it, fam.
Yeah.
This is my surroundings. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna accept the situations because this is what I was born into. You know what I mean? Now you're gonna say, does that person have a choice? The fact that he surrenders to the environment is a choice.
Okay.
Now one could say also it's a privilege to have the mindset of saying I'm gonna work and get out of the hood or whatever. You know, but at the end of the day, it is a choice.
Because Anele, you grew up in the township. Mm-hmm. You have friends that you've lived there until the day they're still there, but you're not in. Mm-hmm. You made a choice.
Of course. So
staying there is also a choice.
No, of course.
No, Jess, I get that.
I think maybe because of that.
He doesn't believe us.
We need an intervention.
He's like, let me try. Really? Let me
Yeah.
No, I'm with you, Jess. No, for real. He's still not coming. Like, he doesn't know what we're talking about.
I'm glad you touched on that point, bro. Because for me, currently, there's a lot of things going on in the world, and I'm glad that we're sitting on this table. I'm glad we're sitting on this table as 4 men, because last week I found out somebody that I know. I wasn't really close to the person, but they were close to my girlfriend. Killed himself, right? And when I met him, Eren, he also mentioned that somebody that he knew, also a male, also, you know, there's this thing going around.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it was the same person.
No, it's not the same person, but there's this thing going around when suicide is becoming like a trend now. It's like every second day we're hearing some dude killing himself. I mean, it had to take a Ricky Rick, who was a celebrity, for the nation to actually say, whoa, wow, hold on. Somebody who had everything going on for themselves and they killed themselves. It doesn't add up. You know, last night I was talking to my girl and we spoke for like an hour. We're talking about this person that killed himself. They were close to, she was close to. This dude had, you could say, everything going on for himself. He was doing charity work. He was earning a lot of money. There was a lot going on where he even wrote the suicidal note, you know, apologizing to the family and whatever, but it's like it doesn't add up, you know. Then it comes down to the stuff that we're talking about choices we make in life, about doing things that we're passionate about. I feel like we're in the era where we don't know when people are depressed, people are happy, or you know what I mean, whether they're CEO or working at the bottom of the industry. It's what needs to happen? What will be the solution? Because right now we're just accepting the problem.
You know?
Because I believe it's a conversation that needs to happen among men. That's why I thought, even though today it's like 4 men sitting around the table, but I just thought I'd open up that conversation because I still don't get why somebody close to me a couple of years ago tried to commit suicide, right? And they survived it, right? But the day they committed the suicide, they made sure they spend the day with their best friend, have the best day. The best friend couldn't get it the next day. Why that happened, you know? So I'm like, what is it that we're missing that is going around among us as men around this country, that people just snapping and feeling like, yo, I feel like the world will be a better place without me. You know? I'm not expecting you guys to have answers, but for me, I'm putting it out there because it's a question that's going on in my head. You know, it's like, what is going on that I'm missing? That way I'm like, yo, Anele is happy. You know? Then if I hear a phone call tomorrow that Anele killed himself, it's like, yo, it doesn't add up. You know, what am I missing?
I think, for one, it's what shocks people is because we're pretending. You know, everyone's pretending.
Is it the era of social media?
It's
putting on a facade.
Because here's a question, right? If I ask you now, who is KB? Who are you? Remove like everything. Who is KB? Like, you know, like remove the influence, remove the environment, because a lot of us find our identity based on what the world says we should be or who we are. You know, for instance, everyone in your circle is doing good. You're just the only one that's, you know, it's pressurizing. You know what I mean? Because we want to be something, we want to have a sense of identity. We're looking for all these things, but it's a sum of everything.
Do you feel like it's lack of identity? Or
it's a lack. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to say it is. However, if I look at my own life, I would say it's a lack of identity. It's a lack of knowing who we are as human beings. What is it that triggers us? Our emotions, what controls our emotions? What's the brain, how does the brain work? You know what I mean? A lot of us don't know. Look, we're drinking this water now. And it's fine. Look, we read the ingredients, it's all good for them, it's natural, it's good for the body. But tap water, for instance, do you know what's in tap water? Do you know the process that goes into, you know what I mean? The food we eat. Do you know that it's a fact that, for instance, that if the food you eat somehow triggers your emotions? The music you listen to, why is it that when we're sad, we listen to sad music? The music we listen to, our body is constantly absorbing information and energy, not just via food or whatever. Just here now, we're absorbing energy from each other, the skin, the senses.
You guys feel the energy right
now? The energy you shift. We need to be on this. The food you eat, what you see, what you listen to. You know what I mean? Energy, soul-wise. We don't know who we are, if we are being honest, because the media, we are constantly be told what we should be via what we see, what we watch, the movies and everything. For instance, everybody now wants to be famous.
Yeah.
We all want to be famous. We all want to be like, you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, is it really a calling, or do we just want to do it because it's
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This person on social media is famous. They've got everything figured out. So I want to, we don't know. Honestly, for me, I feel like we don't know who we are.
Do you think that does that then allow a space for a person to be pressurized to?
Absolutely. If you don't know who you are at the mercy of your surroundings and environment. And when I say that, I mean the world, whatever you feed into your body.
Your friends.
That's it. Bro, if you don't know who you are as a human being, how your body works, you are at the mercy of the world.
How does one start knowing who they are?
Bruh,
what are the steps? Because these
do
steps
you know who you are?
There's no. I'm on that journey.
What's the guideline to
Buhu water first?
No, for real. You guys think it's a joke?
No, I don't think it's a joke. I'm making a joke. Look, we don't think what you're saying is a joke.
There are times where, honestly, I'm in a conversation. You find that the ego is telling you, Marshal, you need to be angry at this moment. And then you think to yourself, but why must I be angry at this moment? You know what I mean? Then you're not thinking to yourself, you're fighting with yourself inside, but no, man, this is not normal. You go in, you start seeing spiritually, you start seeing how your body works and all these things. And the battle is hard, fam. Yeah. It's not and this is why most people don't do it. Yeah. Because even an offense, if you're offended at something, it's simply because there's a truth that you're unwilling to accept about yourself. That's why people get offended. So that's the problem. We don't know who we are. And in order for us to know who we are, we have to let the ego go. But that is a battle, fam. Let's say you're speaking with somebody's saying something that's,
and you want to.
And you're like,
so the fight is what? The ego, and then
you're fighting the ego, you're fighting against the programming of the world that's already within you. You know what I mean? For me, for instance, I was born in a family where I was very, how can I say this? I wanted to go out, but I couldn't go out. Like Kanye did. Like Kanye said, the coffee tables, you want to climb, but they say, no, don't climb. And then you have all these coffee tables when you grow up as an adult. And now you find that even the environment still puts these coffee tables, and then you're so constricted. So now, in order for you to actually understand who you are, the freedom of who you are, you have to break the coffee tables down, man. You have to bring it down. But that's
but
what.
When you do that, then the world look at you as a madman.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
When you do what is out of the
norm.
But isn't that madness?
What they call it madness. That's what they say. That's what they call genius man. People that think a bit out of the bubble that we live in. They call them mad.
Not all mad people become geniuses. Let's be clear on that. not all men. Guys, not all men people. So I'm gonna walk around now and be like, let these people out of this asylum.
So I'm gonna
Restricted genius.
Let me jump on that bandwagon of who are you, who I am. I think that's one of the fundamental questions everyone should ask themselves.
Absolutely.
Because it's a deep journey.
It's a
And I started, if I call it the spiritual process, the spiritual journey in 2013. Prior to that, I had no idea who I was. The person who I thought I was controlled by what my parents wanted me to be and by what society said I was. And society as in Hollywood movies, media, blah, 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 all of those things. And there was always this conflict in me because I was like, this isn't who I am and I'm very uncomfortable here. But if I start stepping out of line, here comes Dad and he's telling me, listen, you're stepping out of line. This isn't who you are, but it's who he wanted me to be. But then I guess my spiritual journey started in 2013. I'll give a brief history. I got my first job and I lived in the bush for 4 months. And I was a sound designer on a film shoot. And I met some of the smartest guys over there and they just started talking about like consciousness, awareness, Taoism, psychology. There's some philosophers, Alan Watts, Ram Dass, all these guys that they're mentioning and I had no idea what they were talking about. Absolutely not, but something in me was saying, hey, there's some truth in this. And the one guy he was German, he was like, listen, yeah, if you want to walk this journey, if you want to inquire on this, these are the people you should just read up on. So he gave me a few people to go read up on. And then 2014, that's when my father passed away. Now this huge kind of, in some sense it was like a release from his shackles. And from 2014, I really started discovering myself. And I can tell you now, with me being in Cape Town, like I said, I've almost been here for a year. This is the most I've ever been myself and I've been able to make my own decisions.
Nice.
Prior to that was just very, very confusing. But yeah,
pleasing people, basically.
Pleasing people, just like dishonoring myself.
But guys, can I ask something? Is not the self, is not the identity malleable? Is it not something that evolves? It's not something that grows, right? Because, for instance, people would speak in terms of, oh no, that wasn't me. No, but I feel like, right? That was you. This is you. It will be you. You've always been you. Right, the things that you've been doing were not outside of yourself. Yes, of course, they were being influenced, but that was a you that was being influenced at that time. Right, that was the you that acted. So I believe that a person grows. Even right now, you, for instance, I don't know your journey, and I'm not gonna bash it, but now you feel like you know yourself, right? And then you'll find that later on you get to actually get a deeper understanding. Or, you know what I mean? Does that now mean that this is invalid or this you was not you because now you...
But it's also important to identify that there's you and there's influence. So those are two different things.
No, I get that.
So
what
the
I'm trying to say is that
within you
the
is
influence
not you.
still influences. Hence, for instance, you cannot say that, let's say you did something in your childhood, okay, that wasn't me. That was you. It's always been you. Just that at that time you were more prone to being influenced. Now you have let go of that thing, but you still have another flaw that later on you solve, and then now again, are you now? So, was that not
it
you?
Goes back to the question that Marshal is talking about
is
of people not knowing who they are.
I think
right now, what we
when you say Marshal, can you understand? When you say
become,
people not knowing who they are, do you mean people not being able to actually actively act on that decision?
So
because we become,
not having choices.
The point I'm trying to make is we become what we surround ourselves in. But that's not who we are.
But so, it is.
Let me make an example. Let me make an example.
No,
right?
You are equating the influence to the influenced as one thing, and then you separate them again. That's what I'm saying. There's influence influencing you. Yeah, you are being influenced.
Let me make an example.
Go ahead.
So water is formless, right? It doesn't have a shape.
Yeah. When you put it in a glass,
it basically it becomes whatever glass you put it in.
Fact.
Right? So, if society is this glass, you become the glass of society. Now, when I say you need to know who you are, what I'm saying is this. You need to define your container. If I'm unhappy with this shape of the glass, I would say, I want my shape to be like this. And then the water, the spirit, forms to be that. You understand? Because to you control, you are now the controller because you're aware of who you are. You control now the shape of what you want to be. But if you are not aware of who you are at the mercy of whatever. Yes, you are right. The water is still there, which is you. But then you are just a product of whatever society has said you should be, or your parents or whatever. So now, when you say, yes, this was me, but then 5 years down the line, I'm like, I want to redefine myself. I no longer want to become this bottle, but I want to become like that. I want to become this. I want to do this. That is us as humans. We are the masters of who we are. We determine who we want to be. So now I'll say 5 years down the line, I become that bottle, and yep, I become that bottle. It's not to say that I'm confined now to that shape of that bottle. No, 5 years down the line, again, I can say, no, now I'm unhappy with this. I want to become that.
So
because now it's my choice.
You sound like a bunch of guys on shrooms.
we did have that. No, what I'm saying is this, Marshal, is that it is still you.
It is still you.
You get me?
Guys,
yes.
what I'm trying to explain, what I'm trying to separate is that it seems as though they equate not having choice or not having the ability to choose or not having the ability to write your own destiny is you not knowing yourself.
Absolutely. You just said it. If you do not have the power,
yourself, are you not you?
If you do not know yourself,
you're still you who just doesn't know themselves.
It is, right?
So it's being you. Okay.
It's like saying, if you do not have the power within you to determine what you want to be, or who you are, or what you like, then you do not know who you are.
Are there any confines, Marshal, when it comes to you in terms of how you perceive yourself? Do you think that the perception that you have of yourself right now is not influenced by society in and of itself?
It's always a battle.
Because
it is always a battle.
Because, for instance, there are things that maybe you would want to do because you know who you are, right? And you believe that the you who is you now should do these things or be able to do these things. But society just doesn't want to entertain that. And then you do not achieve. Did you fail at you being you?
Absolutely. That is what depression is. Depression is basically just you unable to express yourself in some ways, and then but even that self-expression is also based on society and how people express themselves in society.
I think the point of the two is perspective.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
But I'm just trying to understand this thing when you say you don't know yourself.
But that's what I'm saying. It's perspective.
Okay.
There's what people have accepted as the truth, and what I've accepted as the truth, you might not think it is. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's what makes life interesting, because there's 4 people here who might have 4 different perspectives.
Right.
And we move and we choose our truth and we move into it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that's what life is, But my point is, why are dudes killing themselves?
It's not a new thing, though. But is it?
I know it's not a new thing, but it's becoming a lot.
Been there.
It's been there, but I think now it's a lot. Like it's like every second day you hear of a suicide, and the thing is, the issue why I'm bringing it up, because all I'm hearing is dudes that are killing themselves, and it's usually dudes that are not in position that you expect them to kill themselves. So I'm trying to understand this thing that is going around.
What gets a person?
What is the trigger? What am I missing? Because I'm missing it. I'm not getting it. What am I missing?
This is what I'm, from my understanding of what's, through my journey of life, there has always been this societal expectation of a man.
Here we go.
He has to be strong, he has to have money, he has to have a sports car, the big house, or he's never going to be loved or respected by society, he'll never get a girlfriend or wife. On top of that, he must be pretty much emotionless. He must just have everything together, which is not true. Because there are times when we get angry, where we want to cry, where we want to just crawl on the floor and just be like, screw this. But society doesn't allow that, and because we are so scared of seeking for help and speaking to our brothers about it, we fight this battle alone. And eventually it just gets too much, and it becomes a feedback loop in our head, and we just feel like, let me just kill myself.
Because if we're not killing ourselves, we're killing other people. You know what I mean? So there have to be something. So I started looking into that, the expectation of a man, because I believe we need to rebrand what it means to be a man in society, you know.
But what does it mean to be a man right now? Is it just a protection?
Provider, protector. Those are the
The triple P.
You've got
the triple P.
You've got two things. The two P. There are two protections, bro. Provide and protect. Two things.
Lord.
and protect.
No, wait.
Two things, man. Literally.
No, let's. We are all adults here. No, we are all adults here.
But you expect to be a provider in the world the way you expect to be a provider in the world the way you are not needed to be a provider.
What do you mean?
Because whoever you were supposed to provide for, they can provide for themselves. So your role already has been
diminished.
Yeah.
Of being a provider.
Of being a man. Because if those are the two P.
Okay.
Because if those are the two P. Because if you're a provider, then you look around where you were supposed to provide, but she's like, yo, I got it.
And hence you must not date a woman that earns more than you.
So wait, here's a question.
Know your level.
Here's a question, Katie.
Yeah.
Right? I think sometimes we have to take things to the extremes in order for us to get a clue of
how far it can go.
Now let's say the world is in shambles. There's like a complete war, right?
Russia.
Now we all have important women in our lives, right? Would you now say it's each man for himself or each human for himself? And like, yo, listen, you are there and I'm here, I'm gonna protect myself. Or are you gonna say, like, remove society's expectations now. Just remove it and say, what is the thing that you are gonna do? Are you gonna protect her with your life? Or are you gonna say, I'm gonna protect me with my life?
Wait, how about protect us with
Isn't that protection being part of the male ego?
Ooh.
It's like saying, for me, right? You're right. An ego is not necessarily a bad thing.
Oh, thank you.
An ego is not necessarily, let's also just put that.
We'll bring that back. No, he fights his ego the whole day. It's like every day I fight my ego. It's a bad one. Look. Me and my ego.
You need, like he says, we need to have judgment. Judgment is a good thing. Same thing as ego. Ego now, for instance, if you know your truth, and I know who I am as a human being, and you come and you try to convince me otherwise, and I'm unhappy with what you're saying, my ego is going to say, no, brother, I'm not going to accept what you're saying about me. No, society, I will not accept this. Because now that's my ego saying, I'm taking my stance. You know what I mean? Because I know who I am. However, if I want to, if I, for instance, have a sense of something wrong within me, the ego fights back because it says, no, man. You said you're fine, but now why are you saying this now? And then there's all this conflict. Now I think in that way, the fighting of the ego trying to convince you as a human being that you cannot be this shape, that is where ego now becomes bad, because now you are, there's a conflict. But if it's an outside thing where somebody is telling you something and you are taking a stance because you know who you are, then you're like, yo, the ego is going to say, I'm sorry, brother, no.
So Marshal, can I ask you? You made that analogy earlier about what a man would do in that situation. So how then do you define a man?
I'm going to go because I feel like God put everything.
Because what I want to ask is, are there things that are innately, not societal standards, that innately are manly, and is manliness masculine?
Look,
I'm glad you touch on God, because I was having a conversation with somebody and they say, and we're talking about the whole what's going on in the world right now is like we're living in a godless society. And what did God represent to society? God represented hope. God represented something that is greater than you, that you can lean on. And if we move into a society where there's not a God, because now we are God. That's what's happening right now. It's like, no, we in charge of our life. There's no greater power above us. And when that is not there, where you lack that hope, then your life is not worth it. You can easily kill yourself. You know, that's a perspective somebody gave me, and I was like, yo, you are actually right.
Judas believed in God and he killed himself.
It's no. Look, I think it's not really the fact that he didn't believe in God, or he believed in God, but
He had no faith.
It's not that he had no faith, but it's the guilt within him that caused him. It's like, you know, he knew that what he did was wrong.
100%. That's what I'm saying, that people have different reasons for killing themselves, whether they believe in God or not, whether people come from a good home or not, whether someone is broke or not. You know what I mean? So, and they have different reasons. So something that looks small in your eyes is huge in that person's eyes. You know, so it's a mental thing. It's not only a financial thing. It's not only.
It comes down to that depression.
You know what I mean?
You know, like the whole concept of depression. That's the part that I'm not.
Because once I like to take examples and do examples, right? God, like you are. Let's say if you are the designer of this glass, you designed this glass for it to put water inside and drink it.
Yes.
And then now you take this glass, you put it on the stove because you want to warm the glass or the liquid that's inside. It wasn't designed for it.
Yes.
What's the glass going to do? It's going to break. It's going to crack. You know what I mean? Human beings, we have a maker. You cannot, the world, there is a maker who designed us and said, this is a human being. He's created to do X, Y, Z. You know, although we have infinite capabilities as human beings.
The universe.
The universe, or
who's the maker of the universe?
The universe, or whatever you want to call it.
But those are valid questions.
Whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? It's like, whatever, somebody created it. Somebody created us. Somebody created the world. Somebody created the universe. Because otherwise, how do you explain the existence of
Why
it
do you
all?
need to explain it?
What do you mean?
Why do you feel the need to explain it? Why?
You don't think it requires explanation?
No, I'm not saying. I'm not saying.
Yeah, I'm asking you.
I think it does to whoever. To whoever believes it does, yes, it does.
To you, look, I'm asking about you.
That is none of my business.
No, but
It's none of my business.
It's a good question. Why do you feel the need to explain it?
Like,
right?
why do you feel the need to explain things?
Why do we need
that has to be why?
but
then
see,
why-
you ask that question and you exclude yourself from that.
You see, it's a very good question.
Yes.
But then why do you have the need to do anything for that matter? I mean, we could just be born and just stay there for that.
Exactly. You get hungry. So what do? You get up and eat, right? After you've eaten, what happens? You're bored. What do? You get up and do something to kill your body.
That's the curse of humanity.
Exactly. So you can't not do anything, right? So now what I'm asking is, why do you feel the need to have answers for things? For instance, right now, why do you care how far Pluto is? Like, what are you gonna do with that information?
It's
So it's the same thing for me. It's literally mind games that you play with yourself to ease your mind or to entertain yourself. You understand? So now you need to come up with answers for things. And wherever you hit a cap that you can't explain through whatever experience, science, or whatever method you choose to use, God. Has to be God. It's like, oh, there was a cloud, there was a rain god that used to give us rain, so let's kill children and let's get rain. The people are like, actually, no, that's not how science works. The sun actually heats it up and whatnot, right? So then the rain god is now dead. Where's the rain god now? Rain god is now dead because now we understand that. So we move on from that. Okay, cool. We look at clouds. Okay, let's go out of space. When we hear that, must be God. Must be God. Do you know the answer? God there, write it down. Must be God. So, what I'm trying to say is, have you, guys, I'm not going to be now rude, right? That's not rude. Have you ever had your own personal individual encounter or experience with the deity that you choose to believe in? Knowing for sure. For instance, right? Other homies, like for instance, let me reference, right? I'm gonna reference. So the homies that I used to reference were the homies in the Bible, right? They had their experiences and I was, my faith was vicariously through theirs, right? But I myself had never had an experience of any kind. I'm not gonna ask for a burning bush. I'm not gonna ask for blinding. I'm not gonna ask for a rock up right now. I'm not gonna ask for holes, right? Because even them, they had individual experiences. So I don't need their experiences. You understand? It doesn't have to be replicated. I want my own. Now, Have you ever had your own as individuals?
So if you don't see something,
It's not about. Don't use eyes. I didn't say eyes, nose, smell, touch.
No,
whatever.
but I'm saying if you haven't had an experience of something, does that mean it does not require your belief in it?
No. That's not what I'm asking.
Yeah.
I'm asking, do you know for sure that your God exists through your own truth? I'm not saying the biblical truth, because I don't think
But then a person can break it down to just life, birth, hey, you breathe.
Yeah, you can say all those things.
You know what I mean? That could be a personal experience to believe that there's a God that
But
exists.
now, like for instance, is it your conviction? Is what I'm asking. Have you had your own conviction? Have you ever had your own experience? When I was Christian, it was all mental. You know, I had a motorcycle accident. I wrote off my bike. I woke up in the hospital the next day. All those things are usually epiphanies for
you say
people.
what are you?
Or light. You know what I mean? Light experience.
You say
and then the person creates those things.
When you had that accident, were you praying? Did you pray for healing, or did you ask for anything, or did you just I'm whatever happens?
That's exactly what happened.
You were just there, like you didn't even say something like.
Dude, in a second. That's what you said. You don't say. Jesus. That's exactly what
Okay. So in the hospital,
and then
where
crash. God. I woke up in hospital.
Okay.
The next day. Do you know what I mean? So it was just blank. It's not like those. I didn't go take pictures and come down. No. I saw them to people.
Listen,
I didn't see myself. I didn't see my life. I didn't see a life.
If that is your story, then it's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
For yours, mine, right? But I believe.
So that's what I'm asking. I want to understand your experience. Does not even have to be something that I'm going to tell as I was growing in the Bible, as I was learning, then it dawned on me. Right? That's what I'm asking for. It doesn't have to be something that. Whatnot. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be those experiences.
Here's my
when
experience.
did it dawn on you like this is real?
I'll go after you.
I was sleeping, right? And one could always, the world always gives scientific meaning to anything, just to abstain from the belief of God and say that, there's no God. There's a reason why this happened. So this is an experience which is common to a lot of people. But I was sleeping, and they call it sleep paralysis, when you're awake but your body is not. So I was sleeping, and then boom, I feel a presence. Like there's something here. I just don't know what, but there's something here. I cannot move. I cannot move. My heart is going at 100 something per seconds or whatever. And then I feel like this pressure, like something's just pressing down on me. Just there. I'm saying everything. My brother is sleeping right here. Like he's right here. Basically, I want to move my finger just to touch him, like, yo, something's happening. Something is happening here. Nothing. My gran is sleeping right on the other bed, and I can see everything, but I feel this pressure. And I'm saying everything. I don't believe in tongues, first of all. But I'm saying anything. I'm like that. And then the moment I say, Jesus, I start moving. Like, the moment I mention the name of Jesus, like the presence goes away, and then I go about my day. I went straight to my mom and dad, and I slept there for the rest of the day, right? And my father's just like, tu as toujours peur des choses et tout. So I'm like, anyways, let me just.
You have fear.
Yeah, you're always afraid, So then I go there, and my mom's like, just okay. So I slept there. I think I slept there for like a good couple of days before I had the courage again to go sleep in bed. Now, for me, that's my experience. That I believed in that moment.
It worked.
This thing, God or Jesus or whatever you believe, there's a higher power out there. Whatever name you give it, because you can't limit God to something. If you believe God is something, whatever, that is what He is, because He's omnipotent. He's everything and everyone. You know what I mean? So at that moment, I believe that there is such a thing as a God. And that's
might not be Jesus, could be anybody.
Dude, it's whatever I think what we as humans
believe, bro?
I think we as humans
that is none of your that is none of your
I think as humans,
just to explain for those that do not know, Anele was that guy that would stop you in the street with the Bible and trying to bring you to Jesus, and he was that guy. Then you find a lot of people that in his position usually come from being deep in it. So I always try to understand that disconnect of why did you invest in something so much and you believe it with all your heart in your life, then you disconnect away from it so much. So I never get that. So for me,
No, can I say something? Can I just say my opinion? I just want to say my perspective on why.
Yeah.
You know, when you go into something with expectations, and you really no, my man, you go into with expectations because if there's such a thing as a God, please, I will do everything possible. You know, but please, just this one thing, God. Just do it for me. And then it doesn't happen. Then you're like, that's not real.
Would that be the reason?
Be honest.
Who's that? You was like, yo, why am I struggling here? I see all these people, I don't believe in you.
You know, TB Joshua's doing miracles.
But I'm actually curious to find out what was the trade.
You know, you guys call it finding yourself, right? Or knowing yourself. You know, when you get maybe a paradigm shift, or you know, you get enlightened in a certain aspect of something, you know. But for me, I feel like it's growth. I feel like it's your face.
I feel like I'm drinking water. I'm drinking water with Vicks.
Nah, look, he feels that way.
I just thought of it.
The thing is, I'm just taking a
Okay, go on, man. Yo, wait, hold on.
Are you enjoying the book? We don't need to drink this.
How long have we been running for, man?
An hour and 8 minutes.
What?
Nah, these conversations,
You
man,
don't
can
need to finish this, right?
You want to know what's funny? Buhu is an ingredient in this. Right there.
Yo, this is a sign, man.
Boy, no,
It's right there.
Oh, snap.
Hey, man, my boy always talk about his drink being, proper.
Hey.
Magical water.
Wait, what
No,
do the
them
two of these
plateau.
two taste like together?
So,
Yeah.
let's try that.
Together. Yeah, let's do it.
Actually.
Where's that water?
Right now. Let's try it out.
So shout out to Chad for coming through and blessing us with the drinks.
Let me
let's hear it.
rephrase it. Let's see what Northern Plateau Roboys or gin tastes like with some buhu water.
Ooh.
I'll buy it. Give me two. No, wait. It's not done yet. Refreshing.
Let's try it out.
Facade.
So I don't know. So for me, I've gotten to a point where
Can I have some more water?
I choose
Yeah.
to not be a mouthpiece for something that I do not have my
Don't
own.
fully understand.
Yeah, don't fully understand. I have questions. I have issues. There are things that your boy.
Like it amplifies that mental, that big. It amplifies the big slave. No, but it's alright. It's drinkable.
So, a lot of us believe because they are. Yay!
Oh boy, I got this.
Hey! Me, I got
For a non-drinker.
I find that, okay, my experience was growing up, of course, you brought up in a Christian home. So automatically, by default, you're Christian. You know what I mean? So if I was born in a Buddhist home, I'll probably be Buddhist. Like a lot of people have that experience. And then they have been conditioned, as you know, you can brainwash somebody. Propaganda, right? If you've been conditioned since childhood that there is something there. We might not necessarily know what it is, right? Because that's what everybody says, right? But at the same time, it's what I believe it is, but it can be anything, right? Lucy wants to come in.
Let me go open. You mind opening?
Where's the key? Yeah.
You just pull and pull.
So a lot of people, they inherited religion. A lot of people have inherited their spirituality, their belief system, even the way they construct the framework of their belief system, right? It's been given to them, right? And now a lot of them till today are Christians in the sense of still being born Christian. They don't have their individual convictions of why they are still Christians or why now they're not switching to something else. Because there are people, for
It's
instance,
not only based on Christianity. It's
that's what I was going to get to, a situation where a person is brought up in a Buddhist home, right? But then they self-actualize and choose to now walk a Muslim path. You understand? Because that person now has their own individual conviction, right? So for me, those people I'm cool with, right? For me, what I'm not cool with are a lot of the people that we have today who are Christians. They're just Christians by birth. They are not convicted in their Christianity. They don't even understand Christianity, can't even explicitly articulate to somebody else what Christianity is. They don't know, they don't have their own personal convictions. I was like, wait, are you a Christian? Oh, yes. You believe in Jesus? Yes. Who is Jesus? What is Jesus? When was Jesus born? There were other Jesuses there, but you're basing your whole identity on this religion that you know nothing about, that even in and of itself is flaky. You know what I mean? So if a person has their own individual conviction, I'm cool with it. But until then, I do not really recognize a lot of.
Is that you answering your question?
Exactly. So now I got to a point where I didn't have my personal conviction, and I had been doing this for the longest time. And
when you were doing it,
when I was in the church, yes,
yeah,
it's because I was born in it, raised by it. You know what I mean?
I didn't know that yet until I was a man.
What's your story? What's your Unati story?
So let me finish it. Right? So
is it the same story?
Similar.
Similar, okay.
So these things, because they are ubiquitous in your childhood, they are normal to you in your adulthood. So you don't you don't challenge them, right? So you get into it. It's like, for instance, now your parents saying, hey, you're gonna do mechanical engineering. Do you know what I mean? You should have fought it at that time, but at that time you didn't have the self-actualization that you have now. Where it's like, okay, no, scrap that. I'm not gonna do this anymore, right? It's still the same you. That's you, bro. You've been growing, right? So a person, a lot of them today who are Christian, who are Buddhists, who are in many of these religions, especially young people, are in it just by birth, bro. They don't have their own understanding or their own conviction. If you have your own standard, your own conviction, then you're fine. So in my case, I never had it. So I've been doing this thing for years and years, and I was doing it because it was logical. It made sense.
What did you replace it with?
Why does it need to be replaced?
I think he's
what ground are you standing on? What is your thing now?
That's the thing now.
He's
Is that
on the journey,
I don't need to explain this to any of you.
Okay.
I don't need to frame it in English. I don't need to point it at it. It's mine. And I don't need you to see it. I don't need you to understand it. I don't need to explain it to you. I don't need you to understand it, believe it. It doesn't need you. You understand? Because it's mine.
You see how that
So
ego
you figured
just
it
came
out.
now.
You figured it out.
Yeah, you see how that ego. Yeah, it's mine. It's mine. You don't need to.
You know, for me,
They will only be comfortable once they know.
Yeah.
People don't like not knowing.
But I believe
You believe, bro.
if you find the common ground on the reason why people disconnect, or why people, the suicidal people, it's usually when people find themselves in the gap where nothing makes sense, where they have nothing that they attach themselves to. I'm not saying you are there.
Yeah.
If I look,
When I look at you,
if I look at the,
Let's keep a close eye.
when you really study the patterns of when a person get in a space where they feel like their life is not worth it anymore, because that was my key point on the conversation, was why are men killing themselves? You find out that it's usually that disconnect,
with God.
not just with God, with that belief of higher power, of hope, of something that you connect to. If it's no longer there, it's like, then it's just you in what?
What I want to understand
you
is
can't even
why does that, that's one of the questions that I want to ask. Why does that bother people?
Because we can't explain why they're killing themselves.
No, I'm saying like, no, why does it bother people that people don't have, don't know what's gonna happen next? Why must you know? Why must you have hope for tomorrow? Hope for?
Can I?
To not having people killing themselves.
No,
Is suicide hopelessness? Is that what you're saying? Suicide is.
Yeah, bro. Where you feel because you don't think tomorrow is worth it.
So I think from a different perspective, right? If we are going to justify suicidal thoughts or whatever, because in the moment, the person that takes their life away, for them, they believe that this is the right thing to do. At that moment,
Do you really think that?
Absolutely, because that's. There cannot be an action without any somehow of intent. You can't do anything because if I'm going to take the glass, I need to have an intent to drink water. There can't be any action without intent. So in that moment,
do people choose depression?
No.
Look,
because a lot of source of suicidal is depression.
No.
It's like going back to the conversation of when you are at the mercy of society.
Yeah.
You don't make it. Like if you didn't dictate what the shape of your glass is, you are at the mercy of whatever society says. So therefore, you do not have a choice on whether you are going to be depressed or whatever. You do not have a choice.
But it's how you deal with it.
People deal with it, and sometimes they deal with it to a certain point. We're like, yo, I cannot deal with this anymore, and I'm gonna, whatever. But at that moment where if you do not have the realization of like who I am, you do not have the realization of a foundation of what you base, if you do not have a purpose, if you feel like everything is just crumbling, there's just you against whatever. The best, I feel, for me, if I'm put myself in that situation, the best action would be to everything's just hopeless, man. Like,
I feel like we've been talking about death for quite a while. I know it's a heavy topic that we need to talk about, but today I wanted to talk about a bit of the choices and the lifestyle that you've chosen to live in, to live by. The fitness and the workout and the
mental warrior,
the
Mufasa,
wellness, and I wanted you to take us through while we have maybe like 10 or 15 minutes left, just to talk a bit about your, that part of your life and the choices that you've made. What actually got you? Is it the compliment you were getting for the abs and the muscles, and the pressure of society?
let me just put my good side on the camera.
Don't let the t-shirt fool you. There's guns in there.
And Herbalife came to his life, it became spiritual.
So let me explain. How I came to my choices in life is basically it's being a journey. It's being like, at first, the gym was like an escape. Fitness was an escape. And then it became, something where I found out at the gym I could somehow trigger my mind to overcome some things. Today you're lifting 20 kgs, and then tomorrow you're like, let me lift 25. And then you lift that 25. There's that feeling you get of, you know what I mean? There's that something inside that you say, wow, I did this. You know what I mean? And then you get addicted to that feeling. To that feeling of being able to overcome challenges, to be able to, and all these things. And for me, I've taken that and it somehow has fueled itself into other aspects of my life. So that's how the fitness thing has come about. And I've taken that, and so my journey process has been first physical improvement. From the physical improvement, I took that into a mental improvement. From the mental improvement, it went into like a spiritual improvement. So the slogan for Warriors Physique is mind, body, and soul training. You know what I mean? So for me, that's how the journey has come about. I think it was quite
dig the name, bro. Warrior Physique.
Mind, body, and soul. What's the difference between the mind and the soul?
It's like a car. So you have the car, you have the driver, and then you have the gearbox, right? You, the driver, is the soul. The gearbox is the mind. The car is the body.
Please use a human body.
No, it's just an example. It's an example.
Yeah.
It's the three entities. You get the mind because the mind is what tells the body to do whatever. The mind controls everything in the body.
The brain?
This is why there's some doctors now that are saying that sickness is basically a product of the mind.
Is the mind the brain?
The mind is the brain.
Okay.
Right?
How you think.
It's exactly.
So the mind is the brain.
The mind is the brain. The mind tells the body whatever. The spirit is what tells the mind what to do.
The spirit.
Exactly. Because if you are aware of the fact that you control the mind, who is you?
So you is the spirit.
You are the spirit. You are not the body. I mean, you are not. I mean, in addition, you are everything. Combined.
I agree with it.
So the mind, consciousness is not your spirit.
Consciousness is
No, it's
different.
not.
Consciousness is like the soul. Consciousness is
The soul.
Yeah.
So soul, mind, spirit.
No, soul, mind, spirit, soul, spirit is the same thing.
Oh,
You're trying to confuse me, brother. No, I'm telling
I'm
you.
not trying to confuse. I'm trying to understand which one I said because we sometimes use these words interchangeably.
you're right.
Because now
So,
you say that mind and
consciousness.
spirit and soul is the same thing, but earlier when you said the spirit tells the mind what
and
to
the
do.
brain. Mind and brain is the same thing because the brain and the mind is the same thing. Your spirit, your consciousness is the spirit of awareness. That's the spiritual entity of who you are.
With spirit in the body.
Yes,
So we are spirits that are contained in the mind.
In the body.
in the body.
So it's,
And the
so
mind
it's-
is the.
And the mind
spirit
is there.
the spirit is in your mind.
Whichever way makes sense to you, that's what it is. I'm just saying what makes sense to me.
It's not. It's not.
I'm just saying what. Because think about it. Think about it. No, think about it, right?
It's a
What is
figment
it?
of your imagination.
What is it that causes you to eat when you're hungry?
Hunger, my man.
Okay, but why?
Because the body must be sustained.
Okay, so now
Animals
you eat.
eat. They don't believe in God. They don't believe in their spirits. They're not aware. Yet they get hungry. They function. They procreate.
Okay.
You understand? Like
Okay.
that's passion right there. And then you're gonna say, they're soulless creatures. So
Okay, so why do you do what you do, Anele? Why did you make this podcast? Why did we create everything?
vibes.
Huh?
Vibes. I was like, yo, a podcast would be fire right now. Like, hey, James, let's do a podcast.
So is it your mind?
Did we get to the point where you explain what you do?
Oh no, okay, now we're just going astray again. Now we're going
Hey man, that's why I'm here.
Sorry, bro, sorry.
We get the information. He's here to throw you off.
Anyways, okay. So yeah, what was I saying? The fitness led into the mental, which led into the spiritual, right? And for me, I feel one thing that resonated with me a lot about my calling into the entertainment industry is the will to share. I'm a storyteller. The will to just share my thoughts, share my feelings, share my talent, if that makes sense. And yes, and I've always had this desire within me for the longest time. When I was a kid, I sang at home, At one point I was told that I was supposed to be a journalist, and then, so yeah, I've always had this desire, and in high school, I was the clown, if that makes sense in a way. Like, I was, I was always entertaining and trying to, although I looked foolish while doing it, but that's something which is,
do whatever to make sure that people were happy.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
Crowd pleaser.
I don't want to say crowd pleaser. No, it's not crowd pleaser. It's just,
You get
it's
fulfillment.
me.
You get joy out of doing that.
Exactly. So that's how I came about being wanting to go into the entertainment industry. And the reason why I really devoted myself to it was because I felt within me like, if I don't do this, I will be doing something or someone a disservice.
So you're
even
doing
to
it for
myself, even for myself, I'll be doing that thing a disservice. So for me, it was like the only viable thing to do, worth doing in life, is going within this path.
And nothing else mattered.
And nothing else really mattered. Because for me now, for instance, if I'm at that point where if I walk out of this door and I get knocked by a car and I die, I'll be happy. I'm telling you, I'll be like, even if I'm not where I want to be,
We don't know
but the
that.
fact that what,
We don't know if you'll be happy or not.
dude,
But he's telling
I'm telling you that I'll be happy, you know, because I can lie now and tell that I'll be happy when deep inside there's something else that I want to do with my life, you know, but there's nothing else. Many times when there's no gigs, when there's nothing, you know what, let me do some design, let me go back into drafting, engineering stuff, and you know, and I'll do it for like a week and I'll be like, fuck no. No ways. Let me push again, let me just push, let me create content. Someone will see it, an opportunity will come, that belief, and then boom, you know, opportunities come. So yeah, I honestly do not see myself doing anything else.
No.
Like honestly.
And
You found your calling.
Yeah, man.
Wait, do you feel like you at your
He's
calling?
having a spiritual moment right now.
Do you feel like you're at your calling
Right
also
now.
in the journey?
Oh man, my journey has been very interesting.
Yeah.
So definitely not answering my calling. But in some sense, I'm okay with it.
What do you feel that calling is?
I do feel like all of us have some kind of part in this existence. It's like we're all a piece of the puzzle. Hence, each of us has our own truth, and it's okay. But we bash each other's truth. But we all collectively, if you objectively zoom out from it all, we're all just a piece of it. And I just feel like we all have a place to fit in. They call it Dharma in India, and I believe we all have that Dharma. We all have that thing that we're created to do here. So yeah.
That's a very interesting point you mentioned there. Going back to the suicidal thing, it's like we bash each other's truth.
Yeah.
Especially as male. When you come with your truth needs to fit in with the expectation.
Do you know what that is?
When your truth is very far from what is expected, you don't have the confidence to share it. You know, then you start living not your truth. Then you're living this lie that is a lie, life that is a lie. You know, I've been looking into the patterns, and a lot of them I feel it's living a lie to impress the expectation. You know, that's why people go buy the Mercedes Benz. They know they can't afford them, but they buy them because it is expected as a successful black male. It's my people that are buying those cars. Yo, shout out to Mercedes. If you wanna hook me up. But all I'm saying, it's the symbols. It's not that you want it or you need it, but you would get it because once you have it, it's expected. It's a symbol of success. You know what I mean? Like we find.
So you're taking it back to pressure again.
Yeah, bro. And I think
you're saying homies are under a lot of pressure. Right
now. That's why I believe we need to rebrand the expectation of a male.
But also,
because who branded the first expectation? The provider.
But are those things bad?
Yeah, I need a woman that can protect and provide.
You know, the thing is also, we also have to understand that society is also a victim of itself. Because
who is society?
If I say my truth, exactly, you know, I firmly believe that every single human who's alive has some sort of trauma or something that is within them because hate is a virus, and we all have it within us.
The idea of a man crying. Honestly, you cry as a man.
Yeah.
What does society view that as? Yo, why is he crying like a girl, bro? You know what I mean? Those things we say it lightly.
Stop being a sissy.
But they're happy, bro.
But look, when we say that, if let's say the society now, who's also a victim, saying that why are you crying? It's simply because for them, that's what they know. You know what I mean? If for me, I've been raised to be strong in everything. You know what I mean? This is, you know,
that's branding, bro. That's what I'm saying.
But it works for some of us.
But it's branding. But if we're having an issue within that branding, if we want to solve the problem, we need to rebrand.
Those that can't need to rebrand. See, now again, you're wanting to
rebrand
something.
When they can't, only when they kill themselves.
Yeah, but I'm saying like now, let's say we are 100 people, 5 of them kill themselves, and now we're rebrand the whole thing that works for 95 and doesn't work for the 5. And I'm not saying it's not the case, James. I'm saying now you with the paintbrush that was used this side. Now you want to grab the same paintbrush and use it on this side for everything.
This is why.
I think what we're not doing is at least saying, yo, maybe something is wrong.
No, bro. People need to be taught that they are individuals and need to start living like that.
And that's why you must know yourself.
But that's rebranding.
No, that's
not rebranding, man.
Rebranding is, this is why you need to know yourself. You need to know who you are, what you stand for, and everything. Outside of the influences that you've been taught, you've been raised, and all of that, you need to know who you are and what your path is going to be. You can't rebrand and say every party is going to be, you know what I mean? I think you can't, but you as an individual, you need to rebrand yourself.
We don't even have a safe space
to rebrand,
to even open up, to even, these kind of conversations don't happen among
But
men.
the thing is, self-realization is
about this thing. It's like people, it's okay. He killed himself. Alright, cool. Life goes on. Oh, he killed himself. Oh, okay, cool. Why? We don't even, I can't go to Anele. We know between us, we have friends that we're like, I feel like homie's going through stuff. But homie can never open up to you. That is what I'm saying is a problem.
But can I answer? People are different. We have a variety of people and they should all be able to express themselves. Man, just because the way of them executing something is not up to society standard, we say that, it's fine. That is how that person chooses to deal with their depression. Not everyone wants to talk about things. Not everyone. People do have people that they talk to, bro. I feel like literally a lot of people have people that they talk to.
I feel like
And if those those that feel that they don't,
I feel like people are not talking about what really is issues in their life. People will talk to you about, they're selective with what they talk about. I feel like when you're going through a tough time, you know what most guys do? I can tell when some of my friends are going through a tough time, they distance. Because when they're going through a good time, I have a friend that called me, if you buy a new car, you buy a new house, that's when I know. When he calls me and I know something good is happening in his life.
When things are going
But when
bad.
things are quiet, I know he's trying to figure it out. You know what I mean?
But again, don't people need concentration? Sometimes you don't need other people's opinions and whatnot. You just want to deal with this thing right now and sort it out.
Can I say so? Just look at this from this perspective, right? Alone you came into the world, alone you will die.
Facts.
Truth be told, I don't need you to somehow be on the same wavelength as me.
Facts.
I am an individual and I'm capable of healing myself individually. When we say it's good, it's ideally in a ideal world.
It would be nice.
It would be nice to come and holler at you and be like, I'm suffering, and you be like, okay, cool, yeah. It would be good to be vulnerable in front of people. Vulnerability is a courage. You need to be courageous in order to be vulnerable to another human being.
Facts.
Right? But that's like a want. It's not a need.
Facts.
Because I know if I am able to walk on the path of enlightenment and self-realization, truthfully speaking, we all know that there's a truth within us that we all know. That is like, we all know it. You can talk to some people and acquire knowledge, but you don't actually need for people to somehow consent to your realizations and everything in order for you to feel like, okay, I'm accepted or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm not sure if it makes sense.
I do.
Because
when a person, even the standards that they set are their own standards.
It's
not
yours.
Society standards.
Yeah.
They set their own standards for themselves, living their life. Their way.
Absolutely.
And the people like you say about it, because I always say this, that pressure comes from putting yourself in environments where you will end up being pressured. If you're continuously browsing through people's Instagrams, people that you know living good and whatnot, what do you think that will do to you if that's what you continuously
What's the reason you're not on Instagram?
Oh man. That fed into, I'd say definitely fed into my ego. I didn't,
Instagram.
Yeah, I didn't like it. Although most of the content I was posting recently was very deep spiritual things, talking about this consciousness awareness. I was sharing those things, but somehow it was still feeding my ego because I had a lot of people viewing my stuff and a lot of people messaging me about it, and I hated it. And eventually what happened is then you start going through the scrolling and you start then you start comparing your life. Then one thing I'm reading spiritual thing, next thing you know, there's like tits and ass, and that whole thing. Eventually, I was like, let me get rid of this because man, it distracts your mind, and you're actually making the company money, and you should be focusing on your life.
Yeah, somehow I do feel like the era that we're in, the social media era, is really what we're struggling to do is deal with it.
Yeah.
I think that's the transition that we're going through. I think it has come to us so hard that we don't know whether we should be on it or off it, and a lot of people are not really reacting well with it. I am a victim of it, where I find myself, I could lay on the bed and look at the time. I'm like, yo, I've been doing this for 2 hours. What the hell is going on? You know, and it's like, what am I feeding my mind? Because if you really study psychology and the psychology behind commercial and advertising, they will tell you all you need is a couple of seconds of your mind to register something, to register in your brain and affect. You know, there's greater, deeper things that goes into it. But I'm like, yo, I've been on this thing for 2 hours just doing this, bro. Looking at nonsense, looking at Marshal making videos of himself impersonations.
Looking at Marshal.
Look, I mean, it's all I'm trying to say is there's a lot of factors that we now, as people, we're not really looking into it, and all we tend to focus on is the end result. When people react, when people do things, when you're like, yo, but it doesn't add up. This person had everything going on for themselves. How did he get here? You know.
When we look at social media, who makes social media what it is? Is it not us humans?
Yes.
Now, even if you take social media away, it does not remove. Social media is basically an extension of humans.
But the part when they start curating,
it's a platform to express yourself.
And then when they start curating, then they start interfering.
Look, it's the same thing as, let's say you're rocking this thing.
Yeah.
You walk in the street. Yo, KB, looking snazzy, fam. Next thing around the block, everyone's like, yo, KB, my man. Look, some stranger's like, yo, I like that outfit, fam. What does it do to you? It's the same thing as the likes.
Yep.
But now, the thing is now on social media, it amplifies it because there's a lot more people.
Yeah.
So the problem, truly, if we are being honest with ourselves, the problem is not social media because we make social media what it is. The problem is us because you can fully control your social media experience.
Yep.
You can fully
Not fully, but yes.
to a certain extent.
Or you can be out of it.
Yeah,
that's also a choice.
control. That's you.
That's control because
It has no power over you.
it has no power, and a lot of the things, even society, what we need to realize is that even society has no power over us. We are the one that let it have power over us. It's like anger. I saw someone, I was watching a video and says, let's say you are in a situation and you get angry. Why are you angry? Did that person make you angry? No, you allowed yourself to get angry. It is not that person that angered you. You allowed yourself to get angry. Because if you are a master of your emotions, no matter what someone says, even if they punch you, they slap you, whatever, you can fully say, no.
Give him a second check.
You know what I mean? Look, you know.
Self-realization. Is there ever a moment for one where anger is justified? Where one should actually, not even justify, where anger is needed to solve the situation?
For me, I feel like it's all about emotions are a good thing.
Yes.
The emotions, let's not say that all of them are good.
Used in the right context.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
To defeat a lion.
What is the moment of anger?
Dude, when you're fighting with a lion or whatever, you're trying to protect your family or something, you need anger there to do something.
Look, I think the answer to that is
So
when you know yourself and you have values and things that you have put in place, if somebody else comes and tries to somehow
sabotage.
Exactly.
Your values.
That is a point where for you to say, I'll take my stand. No. If you value your family and somebody comes and wants to harm them, you can say, if that's depending on if you value your family, then you can be like, yo, no, for real, you can't. Because you decided to protect your family, this is what you stand for, right? Some people don't stand for this. Some people will say, well, do whatever you want because I don't value my family. And that is them. Some people will say, no, this is where I draw the line. And the anger there is fully justified.
Well, Nadi, if you don't stop us, we'll go on for 3 hours.
No, let's keep going.
And I think the conversation has been amazing.
He wants to share his piece quickly before we close it.
But what's dope about Power Soko, I know I'm going to give you a chance to close up. What's dope about Power Soko is we don't plan these topics. You know, we just believe when it's organically put together like this, conversation will come there because we have a lot to talk about. There's a lot of conversation that we're not having. So this platform, if you're out there, you want to speak, you want to, you have...
You're telling people to get off social media, but
get us on social media. Because you don't want to get out of social media. You see that? Because I'll let you close up. Say your point.
Just coming back to that anger thing when someone does something that like makes you angry. So in my past, I used to be that reactive guy. Someone who looks at me wrong, someone who says something wrong to me, I just go from 0 to 180 and I just want to fight them. And then as I delved into my spirituality and getting to know who I am, I started realizing that everyone is walking this earth with their own perception of this reality. So if someone is doing something to you, it's based on their perception of reality, which is based on their experiences, which has nothing to do with you. So when someone offends you or does something to you, there's nothing wrong with you at all, which is why you can then seat yourself in awareness and not react and understand that it's just their problem and it's nothing wrong with you.
But there are people who have things that are wrong with them.
Yeah.
When you tell them they get offended, they're like, I'm not offended. I'm definitely the right person here in this situation.
This is why they say that offense is basically a truth that you're not willing to accept within yourself. That's all offense is.
But you can be offended by something that's not true. It's like, that is not true.
If it is not true, why are you offended?
Because it's not true.
Okay, so valid. You both have valid point then.
What?
Exactly. Yeah, become a coin. Because then on which side of it you're looking at.
It might not necessarily even be what you're saying, but what you're doing, you're coming up all up in my face. You know what I mean? That's what's offending me right now. You know what I mean? The things, the nonsense that you're spewing, it's nonsensical. So I'm not even registering that. But the fact that you all up in my face, that could be offending me. You know what I mean? It's like, no, but that's truth. I'm like, yay! I'm
Guys,
not,
I just wanted to say, I think we should be closing up because we're going to go to 2 hours.
No, that's good.
We don't want to give him a lot of time to edit.
And I didn't even eat after my work.
And we're having all of us. All of us didn't eat. But I wanted to say thank you.
I think next time let's grab chow.
Thank you guys for coming through, man. I mean, you guys are officially, we met like 3 days ago and you're officially one of our
Met 2 hours ago.
Guests on our podcast. We're doing this. We're doing the
People
podcast.
like to say that Capetonians are cliquey.
Yeah.
Alright, let's let go of that.
Let's let go of that. Let's create
welcoming. You know what I mean? We are Fix It Fit, I said. Plugging Fix It Fit.
Fata Moyo.
Yeah. The logos must come on the video. Physics warrior.
But the idea is once we become, when Power Circle is all about creating a community where we are all connected, we get to know each other on a personal level, so that whenever you feel like talking, I'll speak for myself, I'm here. You get what I mean? Those type of things. We do need that kind of brotherhood. They did it back in the days where there was that brotherhood where you can go to man, and if there's issue in society as man, how can we solve it? So I think from our perspective, that's what we're trying to create. It's like we're trying to create a community where not just only focusing on problem, but it's like what could be the solution to the problems, but also let's talk about it, because sometimes we just look at we just look at things and we go on with our life, but nobody's saying anything. And I think we shout out to Unatis, for putting this together. Giving us a platform to raise our voice, for all of us to express ourselves, and you guys as the guests, you guys were amazing. We didn't brief them anything. We didn't even know what we were going to talk about. My only thing,
is that creation of a space.
I just knew, this death, this killing need to stop. But how does it stop? What's the source? Maybe we need to get somebody with more
social
knowledge
work,
to come and,
social work
experience. Come and put us in line.
Can I just say something? Just picture this, right?
Yeah.
If we are all just this part of this environment, humans, the universe, and
the matrix,
and this environment is self-regulating.
Okay.
What if whatever we're experiencing now is just supposed to happen?
The matrix.
No, for real. Just think about it. Like, nature always has a way to just self-regulate its way. Destruction, creation. what if it's just all supposed to be? And when you look at it that way, then you just start realizing, wait, maybe there's nothing to figure out. Maybe there's nothing to understand. Let me just live.
Yeah. You speak more Taoism now.
And just be good, just be a dope person.
Don't even be a dope person.
Do the best that you can do.
If evil is what you do, you will do evil. No, that is what be the best at your evilness. For real, no. It's like we can say be good, but then that's saying like, but why? If I want exactly. If evil is what you want, it's evil sometimes, then go for it.
So they know themselves.
This is how the universe
Be true to you. Be true to yourself.
Even if it's destructive.
And do what give your heart desire.
No,
I'm not saying, I'm not saying be evil.
What if your
I'm
heart,
just saying.
What if your heart desires burning down hospitals and stuff like that? Should you still be you? No. Guys, if you want to be part of society, there's two things. It's a trade-off. You can't, I don't like to say that thing, you can't have your cake and eat it, because why would you have a cake in the first place if you're not going to eat it? But, because we like to bash the wrongs of society as if there are no wins in being part of society. You didn't invent Wi-Fi. You don't cook your own food. You didn't build this table. Because you're part of society, now you're enjoying all the benefits of being part of society. And then there are also the things that are bad with society, right? So if you look at it, there are 7 billion people in the world. 100 of them die today. It's not the end of the world.
Nah, bruh.
And it might not necessarily be an evil, it could be a tragedy. For instance, a tsunami.
He's opening a new dialogue. We just end here. This guy doesn't want to end this
Because
conversation.
like a tsunami is not an evil thing.
Do you know the
There's
amount
no-
of life that comes after damage or
Yeah.
chaos?
So I'm not saying.
Think about it.
No,
Part 2.
because again, people like to say this.
Yeah.
Selfish. That person was selfish. I don't. You know what I mean?
But that's what I consider suicide.
That's why I'm bringing it up, because that's your stance on it. Because you say that a person is selfish.
It's like you will find that
When
a
they-
person would kill themselves, and let's say, for instance, they leave a note where they're talking about their mom and the sibling and the sister, and it's like, yo, bruh, how are those people gonna deal with what you just did?
Question for you: have you ever been heavily depressed in your life?
No, maybe
Yeah.
that's why I don't
Yeah.
understand it. That's why
Yeah,
those are the
yeah, yeah.
puzzle that I need to connect.
Trust me.
But then
I've
also,
never.
it's also
have
that
you? Have you?
Yeah, I've been heavily depressed.
And got to a point where you feel suicidal?
Yeah. The closest I've been to was like 2015. I sat with a gun in my hand. I was ready to
Man.
shoot myself.
Oh shit, man! Yo, this.
No, I've close. Like,
Where'd you get the
experience.
gun? Because even if I'm watching, I'm like, damn, where would I get a gun, bro?
the thing is, you can wherever there's a what you gonna do?
Where my butter
A butter knife.
Now it makes you think how premeditated these things are, because
See, that's. I think for me is like once again,
But
I
like, just
feel
hear
like
his experience, because
but
he's
okay,
lived it. He's lived it. Okay.
Because once again, we focus on the thing. It's like the trigger of that thing is that what we don't focus on. That's why I'll give him that platform.
So once again, the stance on it being selfish, I get it. In some sense, you can say it's selfish, but in another sense, you don't understand the kind of pain that you go through when you're heavily depressed. You're literally, it's like your entire life is falling apart, and you just feel like the universe is just, you exist in this universe to just suffer. What's the point then? What's the point of going on?
What prevented you from doing it?
Well, man, I did fear.
What did you fear?
I sat there with the gun in my hand, and I was like, okay, what happens after this? If I pull the trigger, then what happens? And that fear literally stopped me, and I was like, I put it in my pocket and I just walked back home.
I remember posting
And you've never gone back to that again?
So I sold the gun. Literally, I sold the gun a few
bought the
months.
gun?
Yeah, it was mine. I was reckless, man. I've got a whole other story of my life,
Ah,
guys.
shit, man.
There's an entire side of my life.
I remember.
Yo, it doesn't get realer than this, bro.
Rush hour. Part 2 is coming. We're talking bad times. We're talking a whole new life that you've never heard before.
That's interesting.
Who was he before? he saw Buhu water. But again, guys, one of the comedy is very important because it eases.
Yeah, humor, man.
When you laugh about
It
things, when
eases
you get
things.
to laugh.
You know what I mean?
It's double-sided though.
Of course, it can be very offensive. It can be extremely
It
offensive.
also comedy also has a way of making small matters which should actually not be made light of.
Yeah.
Okay.
And therefore society is somehow
Takes
then takes it easy, where we should actually take a stand and be like, yo, this is serious, let's focus on solving the matter. But then because it's comedy and we all like ha 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 ha, and then we go about our way. You know, you bring, even why people don't have such conversations, because you bring up the matter to the table and people are ha 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 ha, and then that's
what I
where
find
it
is
ends.
that a lot of the times people can't necessarily be comfortable enough to be honest and be truthful and be vulnerable in a space where, when things are serious, there's a whole lot of judgment when things get serious. But also it can be serious in the fact where people hug and cry and stuff like that, So depending, actually, now that I think about it.
I mean, for me, it all goes back to branding, bro. I think branding.
We never started with branding.
We
We're going back to branding.
Yeah, because I keep on bringing it up because I believe ways of doing things can be changed. It's like it goes back to the conversation we had on our first podcast, which is we're dropping tonight, and we spoke about culture and culture, way of living, that is set up for you. This is how, you know what I mean? We don't hug and. But you don't hug your father.
What I want to know, Kebi, sorry to cut you. I have to cut you quickly. Eren, as Kebi kept on asking and asking, but the answer did not come. What is it that led you to get to that space exactly? Was it a disappointment that you had? Was it social pressure? What triggered it, or what was the trajectory? What was
it was
missing?
Many things though. There was many things.
So what built up?
Okay, so it's not just one.
Okay, well, what happened was
there a special incident that?
Because the person
the
person that currently killed himself, the wife left him.
Okay, so there was something that triggered.
Because the wife left him, that's been the focus of his death. It's like, that's the only explanation.
So it's never just one thing.
Because the rest does not add up. The only thing that add up is like the wife left him. But I'm like, but these things don't just happen like this. It's a build-up of things, So
in your case, what was it like?
So it was a build-up, like that's including like childhood trauma. There was a lot of a very, if I could say, aggressive upbringing. Then there was a lot of racial issues I had as a kid. Then obviously after university, there was a career. I had no idea what to do with my career. Then there was financial issues at home. And then, my own dad took his life. And then for me, I was like, why am I existing just to suffer? Why are you doing this? What's the purpose of this if I cannot enjoy this world? And then I took the gun and I walked to the park. And I was like, this is it. I'm going to kill myself. This was 2014. I'm 30 now. So do the math.
6 years ago.
6, I think, yeah.
No, 8 years ago.
8 years ago?
7 years ago.
8 years ago.
22. You're
I'm 30 now.
Man.
That's terrible.
How many men does it take to figure out?
the comedy part.
As you can see, I am the worst example of an Asian. Alright, I'm the worst example of an Asian.
Emotional damage.
At
what point does it become racist to do that?
Look, okay. Yeah.
But the trigger.
Why I'm so open about speaking about this kind of stuff, and a lot of people will hide this because they either feel ashamed or they want to keep this facade of everything's fine in my life. The reason why I become open about talking about this was because I saw my father, and he kept everything in. He never expressed all of it, and I saw it crushed him. And then when he passed away, I knew that he had raised me, and there was certain programming that he put within me. Hence, I went on a journey to find out who I am, so I can start deprogramming from that. And through that journey, I started letting go of that conditioning, and I started going, okay, this is who I am, this is who I want to be. And I just started expressing myself, talking about this pain. And I get a lot of people, when I speak about my past and what's happened, they lock up and they sit there and they freeze and they don't know what to do. They just don't know how to process the emotion. They don't know what to say.
It's heavy.
It's heavy, and on the other side, I'd say is that a lot of people don't want to feel themselves. So when you talk about this stuff, they kind of like, they run away and they're like, okay, cool, and then they walk away because they probably have pain within themselves that they aren't facing.
Absolutely.
So it scares them.
Yeah. Yo, this human nature is a
man.
fantastic thing, man.
It
Like,
is.
and your story, honestly, it's ish. I don't know if I should say congrats or
Yeah, but
say well done,
if he
you know,
because he never pulled that trigger, that's
Yeah.
the reason why he's sitting there.
Yeah.
That's what makes life so amazing. It's like, so this is for me, it's that hope.
No, in his case, he said it was fear.
Yeah, the fear. But for me, I always look at the hope of what to come. You know.
Did you have any? Because you
Well,
don't know
when
when a person
tomorrow
gets to
holds.
that. When a person gets to that thing, they don't think about tomorrow. Just because they're supposed to end it today. So in your case, what was it a thing of tomorrow could get better, or was it literally at that moment just a fear of
It's too
institution?
much.
The thought of tomorrow, you're saying?
Like
I
the
had-
hope. Did you have hope?
No, there was no hope. There was no hope. I mean, everything was going to shambles.
So that's why, for instance, they say that women attempt suicide more than men. But men actually go
Do
through
it.
because men are more
Because-
lethal in
And
terms
also,
of their actions.
they fear more.
I didn't know that.
Apparently so. So apparently women commit more suicide.
What?
No, they
Attempt,
attempt.
sorry,
They attempt.
They attempt more
I
suicide.
don't know that.
And men actually go through with it. So
Because when a man makes a decision,
Yeah, yeah. But
so it's a situation where I'm saying that, fear is also a good thing.
it's like they say that
You don't have to... Emotions, good and anger. That's what I was asking you. Are there moments where anger is necessary?
It's-
These things, jealousy, envy, they're not, evil. Like evil and bad and all those type of things. They also need to be looked at. People don't want to be wearing masks. Are they bad? Bad for who? Because this person probably has, a lung problem, and they need to be able to breathe fresh air. But then you're judging them as being bad for something that even you don't even know. But that's true. What he's going through. We don't even know what's going on with this COVID, and yet you're gonna.
for me, I feel like, as you say, good and evil. When you have to understand, you have to accept. Because being humans, what we like to do is we like to say, "This is not me," that's not me. But you have to understand that as humans, we have the potential for evil. Today, everything is good, but tomorrow, you don't know what can trigger you
That's
to
what I'm
commit
saying.
evil.
It's always been you.
You have to accept the fact that you have the potential for evil within you. And
all-
choose
And
in
you
the
do
moment.
bad things.
All in us.
You say, no, that's not me. As if you're only just
I
supposed
have
to be
to
an angel.
apologize to Unati. I'm just
Yeah, that is what it is.
I try ending this, but we're just gonna roll. But what you're saying is also
It's
very
valid.
You have to accept, and in fact,
As I was
when you
saying,
accept,
just, you were doing those things. That was you.
in fact, when you accept the fact that you have potential of evil within you,
Yeah.
you become even a better person.
You're more integrated.
Exactly.
Exactly.
The yin and the yang is actually
There
in
we go.
unity. You know what I mean? We have to accept, a lot of us, when you go into a room, you see a murderer, you see people that commit crime, and you're like, oh, no, them. But do you know what caused them to do that? You have to understand that if you lived that exact same life, you probably would have done the same thing.
Probably, yep.
You know what I mean? So you have to accept that when you see that person, you need to you know what?
Also have capacity
I have
for
the
them.
capacity to actually do that exact same thing.
But
and find understanding.
I tend to find that people look at that only with bad. People don't look at good and say, I have the capacity to do that.
They do. That's
They
why
do.
you hear all these stories. Marshal, I used to watch the guy who used to do the Vodacom ads. You heard him. I thought to myself,
Or maybe the negative just stand out more.
you just stand up because it's news. Here's again, guys.
We
what
can
I'm
do
saying.
good too.
If you
No,
always,
absolutely.
if you listen to the news all the time because they want to be up to date with the world, 90% of what you're consuming is negative stuff, negative news. So news is like a bad thing. So constantly wanting to consume news, you want to be on social media, you want to be.
So the key is to start identifying things that can shape you into a better version
Know
of
yourself. We're going back again. You need to
yourself.
know yourself.
But you can put parameters that will help you in your
but you
journey.
can
of
also-
Who's
discovery.
putting those parameters? It's you.
But you can also curate.
You can start with parameters. Do you know what I mean?
Like even on social media, as bad as it is, you can curate your social media.
reduce
into the things-
until you stop.
Stop viewing booties and whatever and just look at art. You get what I mean? You can curate your social media.
Also, let's not lie to ourselves. As much as these social media platforms have different kinds of uses and whatnot, right? You as a person have the power.
Absolutely.
But you don't have the power over those pop-up ads. You don't have the power over how long you stay there. You don't have the power with your willpower. Willpower does run out. Now let's say, for instance, you're maintaining for an hour, but they try. The mechanics of this, the engineering of this thing that you're in is designed to keep you there for 3 hours minimum. When your willpower only goes up to an hour. So you curate it, then an ad pops up. Then that pops out. The next thing you know, because they've kept you there longer, now your willpower is decreased. And then they finally get you. Next thing you know, you can sit there for 6-7 hours. You understand what I'm trying to say? So you can put parameters in place even before you can know yourself. You need to know yourself to do the right things for you.
In the same breath that you're saying, it is possible for a man to walk just like there's titties and ass and everywhere and still not feel pressurized to do anything. You can have an abundance of influence and stuff. No, for real. No, because the thing is, you can't.
I'm not just like, why is
It's like, what is this man from your back?
Your glass is empty, man.
We got you, bro.
No, because for real. Because somebody can honestly, he can have an abundance of information.
The average is can that. Now, the way the world is that man possible for the average everyday Joe? No, of course not. So now we can't make that the solution for mankind.
No. Because what you're now saying is that perfection is unattainable. Which is true, but every day you can work. No, you can. The thing is, every day you need to make an attempt to become better than what you were yesterday.
Facts.
For real, you know what I mean.
But also the
universal.
question we don't also ask ourselves is like, why do we do the things that we do? Let's say, for instance, you just use the reference of you just do the reference of ass and booty. You know, you can go through 1,000 women. What's the point?
It's the man's DNA, biology.
Is it the ego?
Biology.
Let's say, for instance, you brag.
He's like that. Biology.
Let's say, for instance, you brag to your friend. But let's say, for instance, you don't even get to brag to your friend. Then why do people do it?
Look, okay.
Because I was watching this interview. They were interviewing a rapper where they were like, "Yo, how many women have you been with for the past 6 months or so?" He was like, "Yo, 1,000." You know what I mean?
Is that Drake?
Nah, it was a Blueface something. And I was like, in my head, I was thinking, yes, you can do these things. But what's the point of doing it?
Can I ask you a
Why
question?
do you do it? And that's the question we don't ask ourselves. Why are you chasing?
So you can know yourself. So you can know
Here's
how far
a
you can
question.
take it.
No, here's a
that
question.
person now knows that he has capacity.
Is that for ego? It's like, yo, now I can do this.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
If a child, right, from the day that they are born, is born in a blank room, nothing, like just white, they are exposed to nothing and they grow. The moment they step out in society, do you think they will be like at a ripe age? Let's say, what's a ripe age of men where they just go on a sexual rampage and shit?
13.
17.
Nah, come on, bro. Nah, come on. Let's say 17 or whatever. And they just go out. Do you think they're going to go on a sexual rampage? Or do you think once they are exposed to everything and the realities of what society is like, then after they experience everything, then they're like, let me go on a sexual rampage? What's going to happen? Do you think the first thing that they do once they go out, it's going to go on this because I'm a man, this is what I must do? No.
Essentially, first of all, step back.
Exactly. And
in fear. And just
which then answers the question is society. You are born and programmed by the world. These guys that
So
go
we
and
are
have
programmed to chase as many as
guys.
because
No,
of
man.
exposure.
It's not only just that. No, it's biology. Listen.
biology.
Do you know what the kid's gonna do when the kid gets out? First thing they'll first look for is food. They need to eat. As a protection, actually shelter, protection, because now they're in a new environment, right? Dude, procreation is a natural thing. Desire is needed for procreation. You understand? So all these things must work together. Then what do men desire? Or what do individuals desire? What they desire, because this is the last day is done, there's everything.
Yeah,
You know?
there's a guru from India, and they asked him this question, and then his answer was, there's nothing wrong with sex.
Yeah.
Sex is biology. The problem is when sex goes to your head.
Absolutely.
That's when it becomes a problem.
Absolutely. And like, you know, there are kids, this is why I say it's very important that as parents, you know, when we speak about love, this word love is really, we've really somehow...
We messed it up.
I love this table. Will you die and live for this table? If this table was in danger, will you literally give your life in order to save this table?
Love it!
You know what I mean? Like, with this word love, we don't really understand what it means. Like, ideally, when a child is born, that child needs to be a product of love, of two human beings that love themselves so much that they are willing to live and die for each other.
Can
You know
there be
what I
different kinds of love? Or do you want the word love to be used to the extreme? Because like I love chicken.
Love in itself. That's the thing. Love in itself is an extreme word.
Should I say I like chicken?
No, for real. Love in itself is an extreme word, and it shouldn't be used lightly.
Yeah.
That's it. Because it's I like this, I like this, I like that.
But are there different levels to love?
Love,
No, there's just an
having conversation
extreme
with
love.
you guys.
There's no love very much.
I made
it's just
other
love.
plan today.
No, let's go.
Yo, this has been real love. And it shows that this podcast can go on
It
forever.
was necessary. Shouts out
But
to
we have to
Eren.
cut it.
Shouts out to Marshal.
Yeah.
Listen, one thing. Actually, I want to set this tone going forward. Please, KB, never. Hit the like button. Subscribe. Never.
Subscribe.
Never.
Follow us.
I hate those things.
Hit the bell and notification.
Yeah.
Yo,
we are
follow
not
for
doing
the
those.
moyo.
No, we are not doing those things. Don't follow these guys. on
But the
Instagram.
man has
Get
the
off
man-
Instagram right now. We are done watching this thing.
The man has the right to edit. Cut out anything you think is trash. You have all the right, bruh. Just give us a 25-minute podcast.
It's too short, bro.
25,
We're here for 2 hours.
2 hours.
Because we were supposed to be here for an hour. I know this one could be special, but in the future
But it just goes to show how much people are hungry for conversation, how much people are
True.
hungry for
But this was
engagement,
good.
because we are social creatures.
Yeah.
So it starts with conversation, but it shouldn't end there.
Press that button, bro. Don't hold.